Between yesterday and today, we made 93 miles. We need to set ourselves up to be in Greenville tomorrow morning to resupply, so that's something we were considering as we were packing. If we kept on pace, we would get there with no problem. With the southern heat and humidity being what it is, we're burning through water a little faster than I expected. What used to last us 7 days in the jugs was down to about 4. Now we've been going through it even faster than that, and it's down to about 3 and some change. So when we set ourselves up tonight to get to Greenville tomorrow, we'll also be making a water run.
Curious to know how many of your videos have a buoy dancing in them.
There's not much else to look at on the water. There's the buoys, and then there's Mowgli, but he's behind me, so I don't really see much of him. We take a few swim breaks per day just to cool off, and lately I've been taking those swim breaks with my life jacket on. Part of that is avoiding work on the break by not having to swim, and the other is because the current is stronger the further south we go. The Mississippi River increased about 60% when the Ohio dumped into it at the southern tip of Illinois, and that was a long time ago. We've had a lot of rivers and creeks and tributaries dumping into the water ever since. And although I didn't get the opportunity to capture it with my drone, the Arkansas River has been the latest major tributary to dump into this. We're in the big river now. We say it all the time to each other. There's plenty of industry, and they can build barges pretty much as large as they want because there's plenty of channel for them to operate in. The birds sitting on this log are called great egrets. They're skittish, and the trick for sneaking up on them is to look at them with your eyes but not your head. So Mowgli got close enough to take this picture by patiently approaching them with his head down, only looking at them with his eyes. He was so focused he didn't even know what was buzzing next to him until they left. We had lunch at that place where he took the picture of the great egrets, and we're fortunate enough to have the really big boats of the day pass while we were taking lunch instead of having to negotiate their wake.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. As the river gets bigger, we get smaller. The further south we go, the more insignificant we feel to the river. There is so much water between these two banks. The current has a steady but fast, powerful sweep. What's so unsettling about it is how silent it all is. The river does not make a sound, nor does it give warning before it opens one of its sucking whirlpools. This river's tremendous. It commands respect, and it's not even at high water. I look to the levees and the banks on the side and see there's still a long way this river can rise before the tops of those levees get wet. The heat, too, is tremendous. We just drink and drink and drink as much water as we can hold. I mix with electrolyte powder, too, hoping to absorb more of the hydration than if it was just plain water. It all comes out in sweat on the surface of my skin. Hardly any of it comes out as urine, and when it does, it's still dark yellow no matter how much I've had to drink. I was eager to get this trip started, so I'm the reason that we left back in June. Mowgli's idea was to go in September, and that probably would have been a better idea. But if you're dumb, you gotta be tough, so I'm just learning to deal with the heat. We chose to camp on this beach, and it had this interesting tree with all of its roots exposed, but was still growing healthy. Mowgli could care less about most of the pictures I take, but he asked me 3 times for me to send a picture of him up on this tree. He also found an old piece of lumber that had been washing around in the Mississippi River for quite some time, judging by the weathering. Also by the rusty hardware still holding onto the side of the plank. It was old growth, he told me, by looking at how close together the rings were and how large the board was overall. We tend to know the most about the things we're excited about, and Mowgli knows quite a lot about trees. We use this Mississippi wildflower as a shelf for all of our empty water bottles to be refilled that night, and then set up camp beside it, putting it in our side yard, and then leaving the flies off of our tents because it was more likely to be hot in the tents than it was to get rain. We enjoyed a beautiful sunset that night, too. Although this river runs from the north to the south, it seems there's hardly a part in the river that actually runs north and south. It mostly bends and curves around. It squiggles all the way down the map. If it was a straight line canal, the sun would come up and go down in roughly the same place every night. But it's not. So we never really know if we're going to be looking west until we find the campsite for the night and figure out which bend of the river it's on. As long as the weather is fair and the winds are slow, I can put my drone up and see what a beautiful western sky we have for the night. I really like using that thing. It gives me the eyes of a bird. I can see the world the way they see it, and they have a great view.